The Hounds are released on a Friday, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. He's Big Joe Dubin. I'm Chase McCabe. Dr. Crane, Nick Frazier on the ones and twos. My radio voice came out there. Doctor.
Sounded pretty good right there, buddy.
.com. Yeah, that's how it works sometimes.
And we're back.
And we're back. Nashville. How are you, JoJo?
Good, man. Made it to Friday.
We did.
Fast week. Last week was so slow, and now we're here.
I felt like
Friday.
I felt like this week went at a snail's pace, but that's just me.
It's the weird how we interpret different things, and so for me, it's already Friday.
Yeah. No, and that's good. Got a big show planned. Obviously, Brian Callahan was introduced yesterday as the new Titans head coach. Had a great interview this morning with Rexrode and Kuharski. You can check that out, and I believe also he's going to join Stillman this afternoon on Stillman and Company. So a couple of appearances by the new Titans head coach coming up today, but excited. I mean, look, I'm just going to get this out of the way.
Don't
I'm going to get this
it.
out of the way because I know how much you hate it.
God.
He won the press conference.
Oh, man.
But you expected him to win the press conference.
Oh, do we have any kind of sounder where somebody just dropping down and like, I'm done with life?
I'm counting it. Don't worry, Joe. I'll be counting how many times everybody used it between this show and the midday show, and I'll give you the tally on Monday.
Whisenhunt won the press conference.
Everybody wins the press conference.
Yeah.
If you don't win the press conference, then you should be fired on the spot.
Oh, my
Winning the
goodness.
press conference is the easiest thing you can do. Just get up there and don't suck.
Yeah, right. And
That's basically what it is.
As much as you hate it, Joe, Chase is absolutely right. I mean, Brian Callahan.
Thank you. I usually am.
Don't.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying he had a good press conference. He really did. He impressed people. I mean, impressed me.
All right, what dictates a good press conference?
Well,
because he said things you want to hear?
Well, no, he actually answered. Well, I'm not going to say that either because you're going to be like, "Oh, I hate that too."
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
He answered some questions. He answered some questions that I needed to be answered. So, like, the one with especially was about philosophy, offensive philosophy,
Right.
and he talked about how wide receivers. Joe, I can't even. Chase, go ahead.
No, look. I
I love it, man.
mean, what do you want him to do? Like, what do you want him to do? Get up there and juggle?
Well, we don't have to say that. Yeah, then that would be winning the press conference. If you had done a card trick for Kuharski up there, that would have been wonderful.
Which one of you guys is Kuharski? You? Pick a card.
Yeah,
is this
that'd
your
be
card?
great. I would have loved that. That would have been fantastic. That's how you win a press conference, right? That's how you do it. No, I mean, it was fine. I mean, I don't know what you want to say or hear from him to say, but, I mean, there were a lot of, my philosophy on this, on that, and I do like the fact that he thanked his high school football coach, who's the quarterback coach at Ravenwood High School, which is weird. I mean, that's just a small world that we live in. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that is a small world for sure. Look, if you don't like you know what? I'm just tired of this.
No.
now you've set me off. Ricky set me off. Like,
give me what else
you
you
guys
got.
want to bitch and moan about like winning the press conference and all these little phrases that we can and can't use and like, oh, this and that. Like, all this is boring. Like, they introduced a head coach yesterday. Like,
Okay.
what do you want me to say? He had a good press conference.
Okay.
Like,
Well-
now you got to go out there and win the games.
Well, first of all, you can get on my face. That's the first thing. You can back up, right? I mean, you get across the studio for those not watching. Look, whatever. So let's go ahead and put the Titans at 1-0. Heading
The
to
press conference. It's the easiest victory he's going to get his entire career.
what's the Titans' record versus the press conference? Well, they're 5-0 now since Jeff Fisher left. They're doing really well with all that. No, it's just to be I mean, now the speculation waits of go to the Senior Bowl and who are they going to pick in free agency, who's the draft choices and all that. So there's a lot on the plate for the new young head coach going forward, Mr. Callahan.
I just feel like there is and it happens every time, but like there's a group of quote unquote Titans fans that they're going to find something wrong with everything. Now, look, I've been very critical of this organization over the course of the last few weeks, and they deserved every bit of it. Now, this coaching search I thought was well run. It was competent, and they found on paper what appears to be a good guy, a good coach, the right coach. Now he's got to go out there and prove it.
Yeah.
But again, there's going to be the group of like, yeah, whatever. Like,
I've
Yeah,
heard very
Joe
little of that.
Burrow.
I've seen very and heard very little of that. I think they were all excited about what this guy can bring to the team. And you got your offensive-minded coach. Now you just go and do that. And then I think, though, that if you're a really good – like, why would Liam Cohen come here now? He ain't calling plays.
Yeah, no.
Made it very evident.
But you never were calling plays. Like, you're obsessed with this. This is how this system has worked. That if you're, McVay, he goes and becomes head coach, he calls plays. Shanahan becomes the head coach, he calls plays.
But he had
Mike
experience.
McDaniel. No, it doesn't matter. Like they
Experience.
do it together. Like Callahan talked about that yesterday. That he's in there with Zach Taylor, and they're basically calling the plays together, even though Taylor's the one signaling it into Burrow.
Okay.
Like all these guys, this is how it works every time. The guy becomes a head coach, and then he starts calling plays. It's not that big of a deal.
I think it's a huge deal. But we'll see. It'll all play itself out. And once the game starts and everything goes, and you can see it. But, I mean, ultimately one guy makes the call on the play.
I think, you know what it is? It's hot as hell in here, and I think that is part
really
of my
hot in
problem
here.
right now.
Uh,
Rex Rodikarski had this, a sauna.
Yeah, and then they did. It is hot in here. That's all right, though, man. Little Nelly to Dr. Crane's laughing over there. Look, we're arguing over a press conference. All right,
I know.
He's there. You got your guy, and now you got to rebuild this team from basically the ground up because there's not a lot of talent on this team. And you'll see at least, and compare the Titans team to the 4 teams playing this weekend. I mean, how far away are you? Or compare it to the Texans and where this team is. It's a long way to go because there's a lot of unknowns on this football team.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of unknowns, but I think what's got people excited, like I know I'm excited, is that for the first time in a long time, it does appear that when we as the media and hosts look at the roster and go, oh, okay, they definitely need a tackle or they need receivers. It's kind of like that's the stuff you're hearing them talk about. Like, yeah, we as the organization know what we got to go address.
Right. Yeah, and there's a lot of holes you got to plug in there, and so that's the thing is there'll be a lot of things happening as they plug in the coaches from now on, and we'll react to who they get in here and the big names. But I hear all these people talk, well, you got to go out and get this guy, got to go out and that guy. No, Brian Callahan's got to go out and get the guy who's right for him. It's just it's got to get Munchak. Well, if you don't have a relationship with Munchak, you don't want Munchak, then you don't get Munchak. You don't want. So
go get the guy that's going to fit what you want.
We're picking his coaching staff for him, and so. I heard them talking about who you're going to retain on the staff. He doesn't have to retain anybody. I mean, you see staffs all the time get blown up, and they go on the way, and they'll find another job. They always do at some other place, and they'll move that way. But, no, I really like the press. I like, my always thing is, thank you. Say thanks to those who helped you along the way. And I thought that was really cool yesterday with the people he was thanking.
Yeah,
they helped him get to that point, all the way to there. And so it was for that part. I like that.
And he showed. He showed he was human. He showed emotion. I mean, we never saw that side of Vrabel. So I mean, I think that was different.
What's
refreshing.
the closest to Vrabel? Was it the Ben Jones thing? Was that the closest
probably.
He ever
He got emotional there about Ben Jones.
Yeah.
So.
But then the hug in the tunnel after the game and all that stuff. Yeah.
All right. So now the question will be, what does the staff look like? Do you think it matters, or would it be good if he went and found for a defensive coordinator, basically found a guy with a ton of experience that could essentially be the head coach on that side of the ball?
You're going to have to, right?
Like Wink Martindale or one of these guys that's been around the block a few times.
Why do we keep bringing up Wink Martindale?
Because I think he's the best one available.
Bringing him up.
I think he's the best.
Well, they requested that Denard guy from.
Yeah,
the
well, I mean, and that would be the opposite. I mean, that would be a guy that I think he's a position coach. He hadn't been a coordinator, so you're getting more inexperience. Which I mean, whatever. But I think Martindale is the one that has the most experience, and he's been around a long time.
Yeah, I mean, who's he going to lean on? Who is Callahan going to talk to about the staff? I mean, is it Rand? I mean, you'll see what he puts in there. But I'm excited. I want a new, fresh face to come in and run the defense, and somebody that's, I want a Buddy Ryan type coach who just sends 8-9 guys after the quarterback every time.
Well, I mean, that's Martindale.
And then, I say that because 38 years ago today, the Super Bowl, the Bears dominated the Patriots. To me, I still think that's the greatest football team of one year, the 85 Bears, and that defense was a large part of the domination. Of course, they had the players around them. So many in the Hall of Fame now. Richard Dent was MVP with the TSU. But, I think that's the best defense, man. You just put pressure on the quarterback every time he dropped back to pass. You put the pressure on him to see, oh, my God, am I going to get hit? And it affected a lot of things. That's the defense I'd like to see.
Well, we will see what Brian Callahan wants to see as he puts the defense together and the rest of his coaching staff. But he also was on Robbie and Rexford this morning, gave some thoughts on Derrick Henry. We'll get to that. Chris Sanders is going to join us at 10 o'clock. But coming up next, our weekly Predators visit, we talked to Sean Henry, the CEO of the Nashville Predators. We'll get his thoughts on the big win last night as the Predators go to Minnesota and open up the road trip the right way. We'll talk to Sean. Coming up next, it's Chase and Big Joe on this Friday, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, presented by Regal Realty Group, 102.5, 106.3. The Game. Predators get the 3-2 win last night in Minnesota to start a 3-game road trip. To talk more about that, we say hello to the CEO of the Nashville Predators, Sean Henry, who is on the line with us. Sean, good morning. What's up?
Good morning, guys. How are you?
We're doing fantastic. It's always good to wake up after a win.
Well, it's good to go to bed after a win, and it's even
That's
better to
it.
wake up after one. Waking up is always good, by the way. But I got to tell you, we were just talking before I came on, and this might have to convert to like a 2-hour segment because we have a lot of cleaning up of facts to do for you guys this morning.
Uh-oh. What do we get wrong?
Well, everyone knows the 86 Giants defense was far superior to the 85 Bears. So stop bringing it up, please, Joe. Thank you. Number two, the fact that you guys have not built the lineage between the Carthen family and the Callahan family and the New York Giants is disappointing, but it should have all of us excited about the future.
Okay, so what is it? I don't even know this.
Oh, look, I'm not going to spoon feed this whole segment on your education. I'm just laying out your breadcrumbs. But obviously, Rand's father was a 2-time Super Bowl champion with the New York Giants, probably the greatest running back never to be the featured running back in the history of the game, and then the Callahans, the sheer volume of Giants that they've coached between the two of them is pretty incredible.
Okay. All right, there you go. See, you're here to educate us. You're here to educate us, and we appreciate that.
I don't know why we call this a Predator segment. This should be like Truth in Sports.
Sean, what number was Maurice Carthon?
You know what? I think he was 44.
All right, he was just making sure.
That was good. Good.
Nice.
Oh, I loved the New York Generals, and I was about to give up on my Giants when the USFL was going to take over, and then obviously someone ruined that league. But the backfield of Herschel Walker and Maurice Carthon, quarterbacks with Brian Sipe, who was it? Brian Sipe, the Bills quarterback. Who was
Doug
it?
Flutie.
You know who it is. Well, Doug Flutie, but also the Bills quarterback. Came
Jim
from
Kelly.
Oklahoma Outlaws. Yeah, those are the 3 quarterbacks on that team. They're pretty incredible. And then obviously Maurice Carthon made the smart decision to stay in New York for his greatness.
That he did.
So anyway, the New York Giants were something. Now let's talk some Preds hockey, huh?
Yeah, there you go. That's a nice transition. Sean Henry is with us. Predators win 3-2 last night. I do want to start with something really, really cool that Robbie Stanley wrote about it on NHL.com. They have a video up. But, I mean, if you've been around this organization for 5 minutes or even a visiting team, you know who Craig Partner-Baugh is. One of the most lovable human beings I have ever met in my life. I thought your tweet about you might break a rib with a hug that he gives you was so true. But Partner he battled prostate cancer. He's doing well. But I thought it was really cool of him to get some notoriety and be featured because he's such a special guy.
Yeah, we talk about a lot of the personalities in and around our team and the city. And I don't know if there's a more welcoming guy than Partner. He oversees the visiting locker room for us, and he's been a staple since, before we even dropped the first puck. But something really cool, a few years ago, we had a birthday party for him. He turned a marquee birthday, and we got videos from people around the league and some gifts that they gave him. And it was a who's who of hockey. It was like the incoming class of the Hall of Fame, from the stars of every single team. Hearing them talk about Craig over the years of seeing him maybe once a year or maybe, 4 or 5 times, a season, it brought tears to your eyes. And, when he was diagnosed, the whole organization kind of rallied around him because he means so much to all of us. But I made the mistake this year of giving him his Christmas present in person. Unfortunately, he's a Cardinal fan, which I can't cure him of. I got him a Cardinal thing, and I really thought I was going to break my sternum, ribs, and spine. He's such a lovable guy. And, he's twice my size. I mean, he picks up this bear hug, and I was like, I'm never getting you a present again. But he really is an amazing person. And if you're having a good day and see him, it's better. If you're having a bad day and you see him, it just became great. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. He's such an icon down there, such a good man. Monday, I know the result wasn't what the team wanted. Sean, but I got to tell you, while on the ground floor when the team first came here 25 years ago, and just watching these old players come back and seeing them on the ice again, that was really cool because I was there that night, and it was just cool to see them all back again.
You know what it really was? And we said once we turned the corner on that 25 years, we started doing more and more of those things because you have some players that are retired and they have the time to come back. And what I loved about it was, there were a handful of guys that was the first time they've been here in 20, 25 years. Obviously, a lot of them are scouts, so they're here once in a while. But to see them interact with each other throughout the day, signing our new puck wall that we put up on the club level, to interacting with our fans, to really just see them celebrate each other and hug on each other on the ice and afterwards, it was really, really cool. And it's funny, I hate losing, as you know. We all do. But that night, despite the loss, was still a magical night.
Hey, real quick, something that really stood out to me that I thought was really cool was, some of the guys that were introduced were here the first year, and that was it. And so there, are a lot of members of the fan base that maybe don't remember them. But I felt like David Legwand, the cheers that he got, that he was about to suit up and go and take the face off. I mean, it was just like it was when he was playing here, and I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, it really was. And what I really love about Legwand is he's just like all of us. He's a real fan in what he does in all sports. And he was supposed to come in Sunday night, but he delayed it till Monday morning because he wanted to have his party to watch the Lions play football. And that's funny. We talked about that more than anything. And I think that's what makes him so likable. I mean, sure, he played over 1,000 games in our league, our number one draft pick, but he's also just a regular guy. He's a sports fan. And I think that's why the city fell in love with him more than even his hockey skills. But you really could relate to David Legwand as the guy next door. And it was so much fun catching up with him. He's here a little bit more often now, and I'm so grateful that he still considers this home.
When you talk to the older guys coming back for that big event on Monday, what was kind of their common theme? Just grateful to be welcomed back, love the building, love things. Because like you said, a lot of those guys have not been back in a long time, but to see the changes now, I just think got to be just shocked and pleasantly surprised how well they were received and how great the building looks.
Yeah, I think if you put a heat map of their words or phrases, it was a special building 25 years ago and even more so now, and even will be more so in 20 more years, being we're stay here forever. Obviously, the second was, oh my gosh, this city has exploded in such a fun way. When some of those guys were here, there were maybe 3 or 4 restaurants they frequented.
Right.
Where now, if you did 3 or 4 restaurants a week, you still wouldn't be able to catch up, with all the new ones and all the positive growth. And then what I really liked about them is some of the causes that they believed in 25 years ago. They all talked about where we've taken our foundation today, which, as great as it was then, it's 100-fold today. And the pride they each had in that, it was pretty neat. It really, really was.
Sean Henry is with us. Wednesday is going to be a special night. It's not only the last game before the All-Star break, but it's also Black History Celebration Night. There's going to be a lot of different things going on at the arena. Fans can bid on special jerseys that will obviously go towards the Preds Foundation. You can text Preds to 76278 beginning January 31st, or stop by the foundation table during the game to bid on those. Those are always cool. But I know that this is always a special one in hockey. Obviously, Willie O'Ree means so much to the hockey world, but going to be a cool night on Wednesday.
Yeah, it really will be. Whenever we get a chance to celebrate, individual communities with our game, it's just that much more impactful. The one thing that I really love about our league and all of our sister teams is we all recognize that our game could be bigger, it could be better when we make it a little bit more inclusive and more welcoming. And, we have 10 or 15 games a year that we really focus in on some, different history and celebrations. But also, hey, let's kick that door open and make sure that all of Nashville feels really comfortable in calling themselves Smashville. And, Wednesday night will be a special night. I love what we're doing with our jerseys and how we come up with the artwork and really tell a nice story. And there are a handful of people that will be like, why are you doing this? Well, we're doing it because it's important. It's important for our growth. It's important for collective, healing. But most importantly, it's fun telling the history of where it all started and, more importantly, where we can grow. I have a meeting later today with TSU to really talk about, how are we going to continue to build plans to launch their Division I hockey program. That conversation doesn't happen if we didn't start doing events like this so many years ago. So it really is exciting. So thank you for bringing that up.
Can we shove those handful of people in a closet and lock the door? Is that okay?
I wish we could, because it's the same 9 people
right.
that yell and cry about everything. It doesn't matter what it is. You move a doorknob 2 inches to the right, they won't be able to get out of that closet, by the way. And let's face it, progress is a good thing. Change is a good thing. And I love the fact that we have a chance to really look at Nashville, our home, and celebrate everyone that lives here.
Well, the thing I'm excited about with all this, and as much as Joe and I love high school football and high school sports, the battle of the bands between Maplewood, Whites Creek, and Stratford, that's going to be fantastic on the pregame plaza party. Always cool to feature the bands.
Yeah, if you're not out on the plaza, you're going to be missing something. But, the really cool thing is last year at the same event, we had TSU's marching band out there, and you literally saw people leaving Broadway and the Honky-Tonks that were not coming to the game. People leaving the convention center with badges for whatever, convention was going on and just hanging out on the plaza because the energy was so high and so fun. So, yeah, it starts on the streets and the party continues to center ice, and ideally, for an hour or two after the game, celebrating, ideally, a Preds win.
Did I see a special start time Wednesday? Is that right? Correct? I think 6:30?
6:30.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up because you just informed me of something. 6:30 start time. Let's all be in the building early that night. No reason to stay at work. Leave work at 3 o'clock that day and get on down to 501 Broadway.
I love it. Chase, I'm taking Chase down there tonight to Jurassic World because he got all A's on his report card. So
That was last week.
we'll be down at Jurassic World. Was that last week?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to
What's this week?
Well, no,
Globetrotters.
the event. No, it's this week.
Oh, okay.
No, it's this week. Hey, let Joe do all the updates on the start times
Hey,
and events coming
Hey,
up.
you have so much stuff at the arena, I can't keep up with what's what, all right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, but he's perfect. He's like Anchorman. He's just reading off the teleprompter. It will be a fun weekend, though. Family shows really are always fun, and BetMGM Lounge, features a kids menu tonight. So I'm bringing my niece and my nephew tonight, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. Partying with dinosaurs with them as we await another Preds game tomorrow.
Yes, indeed. It is Jurassic World this weekend. The Globetrotters were last weekend. So, again, you have so much going on that I can't keep up with it. Sean, thanks so much as always. Let's go get a win this weekend, and we'll see you Wednesday at Bridgestone Arena.
Yeah, big road trip. Started it the right way. We're 1-0, and ideally the next two games work out the way we want it as well. And remember one thing, guys. We are all Smashville loyal, and that's an exciting thing we launched as well.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a
Sorry.
revamped,
Bring that up. Talk
program.
about that
No.
for a second.
Well, I'm trying to, but you're stammering through this, like the Globetrotters. No, but, when we brought in Deanna Witter, who you guys met last week, I think, to take over our chief revenue officer role, her goal is very simple. Tap into all the good things that our fan base has created with us, work with all of our employees to, look at our fans, the lifeblood of our organization, try to build something even better than we have already. And what she and Leif Yasser put together, it really is incredible. I'm excited about really a 12-month celebration of the people that have made Smashville famous, the people that allowed this team to flourish and thrive, and most importantly, stay here 15 years ago when it almost didn't happen. So I'm excited about it, and I am Smashville loyal just like you and so many others.
So to understand this correctly, is this kind of like an evolution of the Loyal Legion and has now transitioned into Smashville Loyal? It's just another step in the evolution?
Yeah, it is an evolution of the celebration of our fans. And what I like about it, it really is a program built by our fans, for our fans. We listen to them all the time. Every improvement we do in the building is really taken from words they have, from criticisms to suggestions. And that's what this is. It's taking what we've done so well and making it even better. So if you're already locked into a partnership or a program with us, your life just got better. If you're not in yet, this might be the way to entice a few more people to spend a few more days with us in Bridgestone Arena.
Smashville Loyal. You can check more about it at NashvillePredators.com. Sean, appreciate it as always, my friend.
All right, I look forward to signing off for the second segment. So we talk about some sports history and talk about how good it is to have a new head coach with the Titans. I'm really excited about the future with them. I hope you guys are. And that's no disrespect to Mike Vrabel, who got to know a little bit off the field, too. It's just another step, for this team moving forward. And we're excited about it over here, too.
Yep, we're excited as well. Thanks, Sean.
All right, guys. Thank you.
See ya. Sean Henry, the CEO of the Nashville Predators, joining us here on the program. We'll talk more about the Titans, including could Derrick Henry come back? Is the door more open than we think it is for the two-tone blue? We'll discuss that next. Chasing Big Joe, presented by Regal Realty Group. But first, I'm going to give something away. Let's see. A 4-pack of tickets to see the Belmont men's basketball team take on UIC at the Curb Event Center tomorrow. The first caller, 615-737-1025, will win a 4-pack of tickets to see Belmont men's basketball take on UIC at the Curb Event Center tomorrow. It's Chase and Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Looking at Derrick Henry, obviously one of the all-time great players in this franchise's history, free agent. He's going to go find out what's out there and all that stuff. But how would a player like Derrick Henry fit into what you like to do offensively, if he would?
Yeah, I think a player like Derrick Henry fits in every offense. You know, he's been a remarkable player. He's been the face of the franchise here for a long time. And when you think of the Tennessee Titans, you know, you think of Derrick Henry, and he's earned that. And look, if he is open to a return, that fits for us. Like, I'm never going to say no to good players. And I know that he's been an incredible leader in this building as well, which also carries a lot of weight. And so you can find ways to use every player. There's no offensive system that would say I don't like to have Derrick Henry here. I certainly think he's got some gas left in the tank too, and so we'll see where that goes. I know he's gonna hit the market probably and try to see what's out there for him, but I would never say no to a player like that if they would like to return here and it fits for us. So I just think he's such a fantastic person on top of it, and he's meant so much to the city that I would never just dismiss that.
That was new Titans head coach Brian Callahan this morning on Robbie and Rexro. Paul Kaharski filling in for Robbie Stanley today. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Could the door be more open for Derrick Henry than we think? Now, I actually think that was a good answer to the question. A lot of times you could give the non-answer and like yada, yada, yada. He's been great for the franchise. We'll see. But he actually gave some detail there. Now, how it all shakes out, we don't know. I still think that the odds are more in the favor of Derrick probably not being here than they are him returning. But you could tell that he put some thought into what it would look like with Henry if he is, in fact, back. And I think that was a pretty good endorsement by the head coach.
Yeah, I mean, what's he going to say? I mean, I don't want him back, and we've moved on from. No, that's a smart thing to say, but I do think somebody.
But he could have very easily sidestepped it. Like he said, like he was asked about his dad joining the staff yesterday, and he sidestepped that because he had to.
Yeah,
but he sidestepped it pretty good.
Yeah,
he could have sidestepped this and goes, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm just getting started. I haven't had a chance to speak to Derrick yet, but Rand's going to handle all that, and then moved on. But he didn't.
No, the father thing about being in Cleveland, yeah, I'm under contract. You can't speak about that. But I do think somebody's going to overpay for Derrick Henry, and good for Derrick Henry. And I don't think he's back in any shape, form, or fashion. If he comes back, it's because he didn't get nearly what he thought he'd get on the open market. And if he's interested in winning a Super Bowl, go to the team that gives you the best option to win a Super Bowl, regardless of what they're going to pay you. But again, I deserve X amount of millions. Go where you're happy, man, and that's the bottom line.
And I think that Derrick deserves that. And if Derrick decides that he wants to go to a team that is more equipped to win the Super Bowl in the next 2 years, then I don't think anybody would fault him for that. But if he talks to Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan and he kind of likes the new direction, I mean, he was a Vrabel guy through and through. I mean, he was very close to Vrabel, and that was pretty well known. But if he likes what he sees and what they're telling him, then who knows? Maybe he could decide that he wants to be a part of this retool, rebuild, however you want to put it. But time will tell. I thought it was interesting that he could have very easily not answered the question, but he gave a really well thought out answer to the question. And if that's going to be the case moving forward with Brian Callahan, then I think everybody's going to get along with him just fine.
It was just
because it's the total opposite of what we've gotten.
Well, I just that I think in Derrick Henry's mind, I think he's not coming back. I mean, you give that speech after the game against Jacksonville where you open up and thank everybody in the press conference and on the field afterwards, and I think he knew his time was up, and now you go chase a ring. Why not go chase a ring? You've made enough money. You're good.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Go chase a ring. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Go chase the ring and what you want to do. I mean, the Cowboys, the Dolphins, the Ravens. I mean, there's all these teams would love to have Derrick Henry because I still think he's one of the top running backs in the league. And does he fit into what Callahan wants to do? Who knows? But, I mean, there's so much that's got to come together with the money and the right fit and all that. So this will be interesting to see how it all plays out in the next, 6 to 7 weeks.
Brian Callahan will also sit down with Jared Stillman today at 2:30 on his show. So
he's coming in?
Be sure to tune in. I don't know. I'm reading the tweet.
Nice.
As a sit down. So,
right.
So yeah, you can learn more about him and his what he's thinking with the Titans too. But I just it's not necessarily hearing this from the press conference. It's just knowing his background, the offense that he's coming from, the philosophy that I think Rand Carthon has with his background. For me, I'm kind of excited to see what this is going to look like in the next few years with the talent acquisition through the draft, maybe some free agents. It feels like they're going to go, 25 years. I heard Paul say it this morning, and I tried to think through that they've had 4 good wide receivers come through here, really.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown, Derek Mason are Derek's still the greatest to put on the uniform at that position, and then probably AJ. AJ could have been had he stayed longer. Nate Washington was pretty good. Drew Bennett. Like those four, and then you had flashes. Like I know Kendall Wright had a year where he was over 1,000. You had flashes.
Kenny Britt
had flashes and so much potential, but how many Justin Hunters have there been where they trade up to get a guy and you think that here we go, you got a great player, and then he just flamed. Dorial Green Beckham is another one. Tyrone Calico. Now, but I mean, Roy Dale Williams, like all the names go on of just either average to below average guys that have come through at that position.
Didn't your Cowboys ruin Calico? Was it Roy Williams who pulled him down from behind? Was that who it was?
Was it the Cowboys? I can't remember. It was the horse collar.
Yeah. And then pulled him down.
It might have been. No, you know what? I think it was Roy Williams, but it might have been when he was with Detroit.
Okay. All right, yeah.
But because it was like a special teams play, right?
I don't remember. I thought he went up for a pass or something. It came down.
Because Roy Williams was a receiver, so it wouldn't have been.
It was on a Monday night preseason game against the Dallas Cowboys.
It was the Cowboys? Okay.
Yeah. Who was the guy then? Terrence Newman? Is it Terrence Newman? Damn it.
Last name Williams. I'm about to look up with the
okay. Here we go. Nah.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun,
Roy Williams.
It was Roy Williams?
Yes.
But he was a receiver.
Maybe there are two Roy Williams.
He could have been.
It says here Calico's leg folded under him when he was tackled from behind by safety Roy Williams as he was going down out of bounds.
There was a safety.
Well, check if it was a North Carolina basketball coach.
It wasn't that.
He had a really good back pedal on all that stuff.
But yeah, so I mean, I'm sitting here excited about like if they get one of these receivers, and if you're the Titans, we'll talk about this coming up next, and you're faced with what the Bengals were a few years ago. Do you take the tackle? Do you take the game-changing receiver? What do you do if you're the Tennessee Titans? We'll talk about that. We'll discuss that coming up next. It's Chasing Big Joe here on this Friday. We're broadcasting from the Spring Hill Heating and Cooling Game Nashville studios, keeping your home feeling comfortable all year round.
give some general offensive philosophies, Brian? I know I'm sure everything will depend on personnel.
I think the biggest thing that we want to do to start is put the players we have in great position. Let them be able to find their roles, define what those roles are for them, and put them in the matchups that we feel are to our advantage. That's a very broad, general offensive philosophy, but that's sort of the starting point. We want to be great detail in the passing game, route definition, route spacing. Want to be able to complete balls at a high percentage. That's always going to be the goal. The run game, we still want to be physical. Don't get that part twisted. That's been part of the Titans' identity for a long time, and it will continue to be. We'll be a physical football team, and we'll be able to run the ball the way we need to win football games. But that's probably the best way I could say it without going too far in the weeds.
That was Titans head coach Brian Callahan yesterday at his introductory press conference about his offensive philosophy, chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. And the question is, at pick number 7, where they're currently slated to select in this year's draft, if they got the choice between the O-lineman and the dynamic receiver, what direction do they go? I think I lean towards you got to go get the offensive lineman.
Ooh, okay.
That's it's not what I necessarily want,
right?
But you look at this O-line, it's what they need. Now they need a dynamic receiver too. So you could almost flip a coin and probably be okay.
So they're in the same quandary the Bengals were in 21.
Yeah.
And then they took a receiver, and look how that turned out.
Well, right, but there's a couple of there is a different thing at play that's not at play here.
What's that?
Chase had the connection to Burrow. And so I think that was something that really stood out to them that they couldn't pass up on either. But they passed on Penei Sewell, who's now with the Lions.
Right.
And go with Jamar Chase, and obviously it turned out well. And, I mean, if you go and you get either of these receivers that could be available, then I don't think anybody's going to bat an eye at it. But if you get Joe Alt, I don't think anybody's going to bat an eye at that either, because you got a plug-and-play guy that's a starting left tackle from day one.
I think a lot depends on free agency again. I think if you can go out and get a good receiver in free agency, then you could kind of wait on one in the draft. If you go out and get a good offensive lineman in free agency, because that's in March and the draft is in April, so kind of dictate how you're going to lean one way or the other. That's why I think free agency is so important of this football team more than ever before, because you could plug some holes in. If you go out and get an all-pro offensive lineman from whatever team X and put him there at left tackle, then you don't need to draft a left tackle. Then you're good.
Yeah.
For that moment. Then you go get the receiver. So, but if you go out and you find a great wide receiver in free agency, then you go get a tackle. So
look, Odunze from Washington, Malik Neighbors, either one of those guys. I mean, if Harrison fell to you, which I don't think he's going to, but if he did, then if Harrison ends up being there at 7, which he's not going to be, then I don't think you have a choice.
Yeah, I mean, so the first 3 quarterbacks are gone. We all pretty much that's the consensus.
I think the first 3 picks could very well be quarterbacks.
So then you worry about 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
What will they do in front of you? And of course, somebody's going to take a Marvin Harrison right there and everything else. But I think again, free agency. If you evaluate these guys and get somebody here that, don't get an Andre Dillard again, but go out there and find somebody that's and work them out and. Make sure is who you want and put them in there. Then that solves a little problem right there, and then you go solve the other problem. It's like paying off a credit card debt, man, right? Get the smallest bill, knock it out, and then work your way, keep going and going and going. And this thing is, there's a lot of big choices the football team's got to make here the next couple of months.
It's going to be interesting because, I think Chicago's going to trade out of 1. How far do they drop? Do they talk to New England or Arizona? I mean, not that I think Arizona would trade up for a quarterback. They might, but I don't think so. The Chargers wouldn't. The Giants might. The Giants might be interested in trying to move up to go get a quarterback. So I mean, there's a lot of different scenarios that can play out, when it comes to the draft, and you got to get through the combine and the pro days, and everybody's stock is going to rise and fall and all of that, but. Caleb Williams appears to still be the consensus number 1 overall pick. If I'm New England, I'm trying to figure out, is there a way that I can leapfrog Washington because if Washington stays at 2, Drake May is going to Washington. That's what I think.
Then you get Jaden Daniels at 3.
But do you think of those 3, like, doesn't Jaden Daniels feel like he might be really good? You don't know, but doesn't he feel like he could be closer to a bust candidate than the other 2?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, we saw Trubisky in 2017. It was a surefire can't miss quarterback. That's terrible.
I don't know if that was a surefire can't miss quarterback.
What do you go, second or third? He went pretty high up there.
Yeah, Chicago traded up to go get him, but a lot of people question that move too.
Well, they should. They should have questioned
because
that move
then
as
you
well.
got Andy Reid trading up, and getting Mahomes at 10.
Yep. I get that's why we knock it down. We could pick all these teams all day long about their draft choices and who they make, but I mean, I think for a quarterback, I lean on the Ryan Leafs and the Jamarcus Russells, those guys that were just so highly touted, and you just never know what happens with them.
Skyler on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. If Malik Neighbors is there at 7, or whoever they think is the next top dog, you got to take him. But if not, then Joe Alt. I look, if that's the strategy, and they look and you got your draft board, and the board says Neighbors, Odunze, those are probably the 2 that are going to be in that neighborhood with you. If neither one of them are there, then yeah, take Joe Alt.
And see, we're having this conversation because Isaiah Wilson was awful.
Yep.
If he would have come in here and been halfway decent.
But I'm glad you brought that up.
Halfway decent.
This is the truest thing you may hear all day. It's time to move on. You're right. They screwed it up. They missed. They shouldn't have traded A.J. Brown. All these things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's time. You got to move on. You can't. You cannot continue to focus on that. And I know that people want to bring it up and go, well, if this hadn't happened and all that, you're right. But it did happen, and now you got to figure it out. And sitting there and focusing on the past and the dumb mistakes that were made, that's not going to move you forward.
It's the what-if game. What-if games
Sure.
are fantastic and fascinating to play, and that's one of them. I think they had to move on. I mean, he wasn't here and he was terrible, so you had to move on. But, again, you always go back and think, God, if he would have just been halfway decent, then this is not a problem for this football team right now. So you can play that history all day long. And sometimes it's fun to do that because it's like what might have been had he stayed here and had he been good and had he lived up to what he was at Georgia. But unfortunately, he was awful. And moving on, man.
We'll talk about this and much more, including Brian Callahan's introductory press conference, what Chris Sanders thought about that, the Forever Titans wide receiver. Will join us coming up next. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, Chase and Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. He's Big Joe Dubin. I'm Chase McCabe. Dr. Crane, Nick Frazier behind the glass on this Friday. And as we do every Friday, we say hello to forever Titans wide receiver Chris Sanders. What's up, Chris?
How's my favorite two man doing? Y'all doing good this morning?
We're good. We're good. We're
Good.
fantastic. We're excited because
Man, I got a little pep in my step this morning, man. We got a new head coach. I'm not disrespecting the other head coach, but it's just a new era, a new feel of what the heck is going on. So I'm excited, man.
as a wide receiver,
Yes.
I would
What?
be very excited about this head coach.
Me too. Shoot, I mean, I actually went in the front yard and ran some routes. I ran a comeback in the hitch. I needed some oxygen. But, yeah, as a wide receiver,
How are your knees?
man, I had to call timeout, and I was only doing it for like 30 seconds. So that's kind of what we're talking about. But, yes, I mean, it's funny that you say that because you got an offensive-minded guy. And here's what he said. I love his philosophy. He said the teams that win, they pass the ball well. So what does that say to a wide receiver if I hear that coming in? My philosophy is I want to pass the ball and stretch the field down the field. If I'm Burks, if I'm DeAndre Hopkins, if I'm Phillips, whoever's in that receiving core right now, I would get my mindset to get ready to where I'm going to be so prepared that this head coach trusts me to get me the football. So I'd be excited if I was a wide receiver.
Yeah, and I think they definitely are, and I'm excited to see what receivers that they add. We were just talking, picking at 7, and we're going to have a lot of time to break down the draft and all of that. But, if Odunze from Washington and Malik Neighbors from LSU, if they're there at 7, even though you need offensive line, you got to take one of those guys, right?
I mean, you have to. I mean, look at what they did. I think it was when Callahan was with the Cincinnati Bengals. Look at who they got in the first round. They got Jamar Chase. Look at how that panned out. So now you got a situation where the Tennessee Titans are sitting at 7, and if Neighbors is sitting there from LSU, I mean, I think that would be a good steal. And then also, if he's not there, there's some other guys that I like. I like Franklin from Oregon. I like Walker from North Carolina. I like Polk from Washington State. You got Legit from South Carolina. You got Coleman from Florida State. There's a lot of guys that you can pick at this slot. But the good thing about it is, even though you have a lot of guys at that position, you got to make sure he fits your system and what you want to do. So, if we're sitting there, I would love for them to take a wide receiver.
Chris, if you're a top wide receiver free agent in the NFL, why? And I know a lot of it's about money and you go remake. I get that, but saying that if you want to go to a place where you're going to be, throwing the ball quite a bit, why would you not look at the Titans with this new head coach?
Man, I would. I mean, because the thing about it is, like Terrell Owens, throw me the blank ball. That's how we feel because we want the football. We want to make plays. We want to showcase our talent. So if I'm a free agent wide receiver and I'm looking the track record of Callahan, I look at what he does. He throws the ball down the field. He gets, players of football like he did in Cincinnati with Chase and Higgins and Boyd and all those wide receivers. If I'm looking at it and I want to improve not just myself but also make a team better, I will be eyeing the Tennessee Titans because the philosophy of Callahan, the philosophy of what he wants to do with the wide receivers, but also incorporate some good players, I think it can be a recipe for a receiver of any caliber to come in and make some plays.
I say go steal Calvin Ridley from the Jags. I mean, if you're going to, go ahead and hurt the teams in your division. I mean, he's a free agent.
They're not going to let him go. He's too good. I don't think the Jags going to let him go. He's a dog, man. He runs routes. And we always talk about a wide receiver playing mad. Watch how he runs routes. Watch what he does when he gets out of his cuts. Watch what he does when the ball's in the air. And if you had a kind of guy like that to come with the Tennessee Titans, then I think that would be a great asset for this team.
Chris, would you look at a Mike Evans at this point in his career?
I would. I would because he still can make some plays. I know he's he's a little older, but he still is capable of making plays. Look at what he did this year. I know he dropped a couple of balls this year, but he still makes some big plays down the field. I mean, if you get a guy that can come in here that can teach your Burks and team up with Hopkins, it just makes that receiving core room so special because you have two veterans. You got Mike and you have Hop, and then you got some young guys that can learn from those older guys. So yeah, I think it'll be a great asset for this guy to come into for the Tennessee Titans.
But what if I told you that I just looked into the crystal ball and I see the receiver room for the 2024 Tennessee Titans, and it's DeAndre Hopkins,
oh my God,
Treylon Burks, Malik Neighbors,
Lord have mercy,
Tyler Boyd,
what
Jawan Jennings.
What you said, I don't know, man. I don't even know what to say because if that happens, Chase, you just went from a receiving core last year to an exceptional receiving core. That could be something special. I mean, you got some veteran guys. You got some guys that are coming in. You got neighbors that's from LSU. They come with a list of wide receivers. Lamar Chase went there, so those guys understand how to run routes. You just went from a okay receiving core to an explosive wide receiving core, and that could be dangerous with a guy Callahan coming here running the ship.
You know, Chris, it's funny. You go back and look. You know, I remember the Cowboys were in the Super Bowl. I mean, they had a fullback and a tailback, and
what's a fullback?
right, and 2 receivers. I just think the game of football now is to the point where it's going to be 3 receivers. I mean, it's all changed now. So you got to find these guys who will fit in these places, who can spread the offense. And so I think the receiver now has become – I know we talk about the rushing defensive end, the shutdown left tackle. But, my God, a slot receiver and a guy can stretch – it's become more important than ever in the National Football League.
I mean, it is, because this has become a sexy league now. When I say a sexy league, nobody wants to get in 21 personnel. That's 2 backs, 1 tight end, and 2 wide receivers. Everybody wants to run the spread offense. You know, no backs in the backfield or just having a 3 wide receiver set, because everybody wants to make the explosive play downfield. Because if you look at football, nobody wants to be like, no disrespect, I went to Ohio State. Nobody wants to have 2 yards in a cloud of dust. Nobody wants to see that type of football anymore. Everybody wants to see the 60-yard touchdown. You know, the big play, jumping over 5 guys making plays. So, you know, even though we don't want to run the ball, everybody wants to see that explosive play down the field.
Chris Sanders is with us. Everybody kind of feels like that Derrick Henry's time with the Titans is done, and that, you know, Brian Callahan's system, you know, would feature a couple of running backs that can run routes. However, he was on Robbie and Rex Road, and Kaharski was in this morning, and was asked about Derrick Henry and, you know, him fitting in that offense. And he basically said that, look, you find a place for a guy like Derrick Henry. Absolutely. And he's got a lot left in the tank. He thinks he could certainly fit and you know, continue to be a top player for this franchise. And he could have very easily dismissed that question and sidestepped it and all those things.
Right.
I heard a guy that was legitimately like, hey, give me a shot to have him here, that the door's not closed like maybe we thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with you about that, because everybody wants Derrick Henry. I want Derrick Henry here, but you got to remember this. It's not that if Derrick Henry's not here, he's not a great player. It's just that what does Callahan want to do with his philosophy? His philosophy is throwing the ball downfield. His philosophy is going through a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. All those things are great. So it's not that Derrick Henry wouldn't fit in. It's just that you will have a frustrated Derrick Henry. When you say you have a frustrated Derrick Henry, is he will be coming in the game sparingly. It's not that, you know, the couple of years ago to where we knew the identity of the Tennessee Titans is run first, pass second. Now when you got Callahan coming in, it's pass first, run second. So it's not that Derrick Henry can't fit in the system. It's just that he'll get frustrated because he'll be coming out of the game a lot as opposed to staying in the game.
All right, they're all heading to the Senior Bowl next week. What do you think Callahan's looking at the most? Receiver? What do you obviously receiver, but what's going to think that's going to stand out to him, Chris?
I think it's going to be a couple of positions. I think you're going to look at the wide receiver position, just like what we talked about. We got Neighbors, we got Franklin, we got Walker from North Carolina, the guys that I kind of talked about, but also the offensive line. If you look at last year with the Tennessee Titans, with the offensive line, they struggled in pass roll, they struggled with a lot of things. So he's going to be eyeballing those 2 positions. Then I think another position that I really think he's going to focus on is the secondary. He's got to get some guys in the secondary that can make some plays. I mean, I know we got McCourt, not McCourt. We got, I forgot the defensive back's name. Not McCourt. What's the guy's name? McCrary, Dave McCrary out there that's been making some plays, but you got to figure out a way to get a shutdown quarter to take the pressure off, not making plays downfield. So those are the 3 positions I think he'll be really looking at. I know the quarterback situation is kind of taken care of. I know, you know, the offensive guard, I guess you can say with Skornowski, that's kind of taken care of. But you got to get some offensive line guys. You got to get some wide receivers, and you got to get some secondary guys that can stop those guys from making plays in the secondary. That's what I think.
He is forever Titans wide receiver Chris Sanders, and has brought it today, as he does every week. But,
man, I appreciate you guys, and I love you guys so much.
You too, Chris. I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm ready to see what this looks like. Let's give me to September already.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome, man. And I think that and I know we got to get off the show, but here's what I love about what I love about the whole situation is there's some great chemistry.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the chemistry that he had with Rand Carthon, it's not phony, it's not fake. It's saying, you know what, I'm willing to work with you, Amy. I'm willing to work with you, Rand Carthon. And when you have a situation like that and you have great chemistry, let's go get us a doggone championship and bring it back to Nissan Stadium. Let's go get it.
No doubt about it. He is Chris Sanders, Forever Titans wide receiver. Have a great weekend.
Hey, appreciate you guys.
You too. Joins us every Friday here on the program. A lot of fun what ifs. You like the what if game. I mean, there's what ifs now with this team but what do you think about that receiving core that I named? Would you sign up for that? We'll discuss that.
Good Lord,
coming up next. Chasing Big Joe, 615-737-1025. That's our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can weigh in on anything that we're talking about here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. This is good. Did you request this, Joe?
I did not. Although it is player, right?
Yes, it is.
Player? Okay.
It's the name of the group.
I
Yeah.
would have said I would not have said player.
I'm telling you, 70s adult rock, I mean, like that adult contemporary rock, it's fantastic.
There's a reason why I played it, though.
And that is?
We hope that this receiver core can come back.
Yeah.
Just got to make sure.
I see what you did there.
Come back and play well.
By the way, if you missed Brian Callahan on with the morning show earlier today, you can go to thegamenashville.com. But he's also going to join Jared at 2:30 today. Jared actually did a sit-down with Coach Brian Callahan, so looking forward to that conversation at 2:30 as a part of Stillman and Company. Couple of texts, weighing in on things that I find interesting on our text line, 615-737-1025, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Rob in Clarksville. I found these conversations about high-dollar free agents funny. Please remember the Titans hired a new coach. They did not get a new owner who would spend money. Look, Rob, you're not off base there. But I do wonder if she has this desire to be competitive once you get into the new stadium, contend for a Super Bowl once you get into the new stadium. You got $85 million in cap space. You got to start using some of that. I mean,
you want her to get competitive in 4 years?
Well, I want her to start now.
Okay.
I mean, you got to start the process now.
Make sure. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, and go back and compare, to like the Chiefs being the Super Bowl. I know they got Mahomes, but, they had great receivers and great play call. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into making it to the Super Bowl. And, what do the Titans need to get that level? Because, look, get to the playoffs, it's great. That's not your goal.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, if Detroit goes and wins a Super Bowl, then that list of teams that's never won a Super Bowl, it gets shorter and shorter. And guess who's on that list?
Titans.
Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other thing, too. This is what this year is for. Let me tell you what the number one – everybody goes like, all right, what does Brian Callahan and Rand Carthon need to do first? You need to put this team in a position where you can get a true evaluation if Will Levis is your quarterback for the next 10 years. That's what you got to figure out. And you need to figure it out this year. If you get halfway through the season and you still got questions, guess what? You figured it out. He ain't the guy.
Did I miss something? Did he play so bad that you have to?
No, I didn't say he was playing bad.
Okay, I've heard that from others as well. Like,
But-
I'm not sure he had. Well, but I don't. He played well.
I thought he did too, behind a really bad offensive
Yeah.
line.
He's
So
gonna
put
make
him-
mistakes. He's a rookie.
Put him behind a better O-line, get him some receivers to work with, and let him cook. And if he's making 5-star meals in the kitchen,
Right.
you got your guy.
Exactly.
If he's making now, I think we both can agree that there were some throws he made that didn't get picked off that probably should have. You got to clean some of that stuff up. But that's a rookie. So I'll give you that. I'll give you a pass on that. But if you clean that stuff up and you get him weapons to work with and he's cooking in that kitchen, you got your guy.
You absolutely got your
And you
guy.
build around that guy. But I'll give you that you want to give it a little time to evaluate. Is Skoronski truly the left guard that you think he can be, that Vrabel thought he could be? You got to figure that out. Can you build around him and make that offensive line better? It's a step-by-step process, but it all starts now. Let's go to Corey, who has called in. Corey, what's up?
Hello, gentlemen. How are you all?
Doing fantastic.
Good, good. I know with the new coach and all that regime and all, do they generally hold on to the strength and conditioning folks, or they hire all new people there?
It just depends. I mean, I'm sure my guess is he'll bring in his own people. Especially with Carthon having having influence on the staff. I kind of know where you're going with that and appreciate the call, Corey. I mean, the injuries that happened over the last few years under Vrabel and the strength and conditioning staff, and Vrabel did make some changes to the strength and conditioning staff. You got to wonder, does that get looked at? My guess is you're going to see some new people in here.
I would. I think that's a crucial high. Let's look in college. Your strength and conditioning.
It's a good call.
coach
It's true.
Is massively important because in those dead periods when the coaches can't interact, air quotes, with the players, they can with the strength coach. I mean, so he is kind of keeping the
Can
pulse.
Scott
of your
Cochran
team.
come in here?
Who's that?
Or was it Scott that was out at Alabama for forever?
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
It's not Scott. It's
I know you're talking about.
It's like, I need to see you lower. We got the drops in there.
Yeah, I mean, so for college, the strength coach. So for the NFL, I mean, it's important. But I'd want to bring in my own guys that I know that in some shape, form, or fashion on the team, and that is a strength coach. Now, typically,
it is Scott. Okay.
Typically, the strength coach will pick his assistants to come in and get it going on. But those guys are so vital. I mean, they are so vital to a football team, and in fact, to just about any team, your strength coach is that important.
Yeah. So, but it's a good question because I mean that's going to be one of the more important hires that Brian Callahan makes. Outside of quarterbacks coach, OC, defensive coordinator. I mean, the strength coach is going to be very, very important. Let's see. Dylan on our text line says, we've seen Derrick Henry catch the ball pretty well out of the backfield. With someone like Brian Callahan, couldn't he easily use Derrick Henry out of the backfield? That would be pretty overwhelming for a defense to worry about Henry running the ball as well as being a mismatch for almost any linebacker. I think he does catch the ball better than people say, but I think the other thing too with an offense like this, he's looking for backs that can run true routes. And Derrick, they keep it pretty simple. It's more than, and look, that may work. That you could put Spears and Henry in the backfield at the same time. Spears is running a decoy route or vice versa. So you could certainly do stuff like that. I mean, my guess is if Derrick Henry is back on this football team, Callahan's going to go, we'll make it work. We got it.
Well, 100% he does. And that would be fantastic. We'd love to see Derrick Henry back here. But again, he's going to go where he's going to get paid. And you can't blame him for that. But it'd be great to see a 1-2 punch again out Spears and Henry out of the backfield and how they could use that. But I guess if you want to learn a lot more about what you can see, just watch the Bengals tape from the last 2 years and see how they figured things out. Because with that great quarterback, they turned that thing around almost instantaneously.
Bradford asking about T. Higgins. I would love to see T. Higgins in a Titans uniform. I just don't think it's going to happen. Cincinnati, they got they obviously have to figure out the cap and all of that. I think they're going to figure out a way to keep him. They'll tag him this year, my guess is. So then you'll have another year with him and Chase. Boyd is the one that he's also a free agent. I think Boyd's gone. Now, Tyler Boyd would be interesting here because I think Boyd is a better receiver than maybe we think he is, but he gets overshadowed at times by Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So
here's a analysis of Tyler Boyd. Boyd's a big slot receiver with solid blocking chops in the run game. He rarely ever drops a target and does well to sit down in soft spots of zones on key passing downs. However, he posted career lows in 2023. The Bengals may not be willing to offer him as much as other teams looked up to grade their unit over the middle. So is he a Juwan Jennings? Sounds like they're the same receiver.
I think he's a better Juwan Jennings, but
okay.
I think that's a little skewed though, because you have Jake Browning that was filling in for Joe Burrow, and if you listen to the press conference yesterday, he even mentioned someone asked him about Jake Browning and being comfortable in the offense.
Yeah,
and so if he's not comfortable throwing to Tyler Boyd in that offense, then that's why you're going to have some all-time lows in your career for stats.
Well, and to that point, they had to change the offense, and so I think for a guy like Burrow. And again, I don't mean this in a bad way towards Browning, but a guy like Burrow, you can put 5 options out there, and he's going to go bang, 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 boom. He's going to find the guy. Browning, you're going to simplify it, and that's why Browning was successful, and that's why I think Brian Callahan has a head coaching job because he showed that he could do that. You look at somebody like Jared Goff. We're finally seeing Jared Goff play the way that everybody thought Jared Goff could play. And this started in L.A. because McVay simplified the offense to work for Goff. Well, the same things happened in Detroit. And you have to – that's what makes a good coach a good coach. You adapt your system to the player. You don't make the player adapt their system to you. That's unless you're Peyton Manning and then that's different.
Then that's out the door, yeah.
But I think that's interesting. If they got Boyd, I wouldn't hate that. Like, he's not your star, but like he's gonna catch some balls for you, and he's gonna help your offense.
I think a Titans fan will be excited about any receiver with a name who's produced in this league to come in and help out this team in 2024.
If they sign Derek Mason tomorrow, they'd probably be excited about that.
They can get exactly. He's probably better than 98% of the guys out there. But I think, again, a lot of this can be solved during free agency, and then you kind of build your team from that moment on. A lot of teams have done. Now, is that the answer for success? No, but it still helps out solving a problem with your team if you get the right person in there, and then that way you don't know until September. But I think we all doubted Andre Dillard, right? It was like, why are the Eagles giving up on a first-round pick?
Mm-hmm. We know now.
Yeah, so quickly.
We figured that out halfway through training camp.
Yeah, exactly. So there's still a lot left to do, man. It's that's why a lot of these coaches go bald and stress out. I mean, there's just so much that could go wrong that you want to go right. I don't know, man. That's just,
I was standing at practice at training camp like 2 weeks in, and it was a backup defensive lineman that was in and just like blew through Andre Dillard like he was a turnstile. And I just look at, I forgot who I was standing next to. It may have been Buck. And I go, and like, I'm not an expert on this stuff, but I can tell you with my eye test, that's not good.
Is he coming back?
No, I think they'll cut him. I think they can get out after a year.
All right. They better hope they can get out after a year.
Yeah, I think they can get out after a year. I need to look that up. Chasing Big Joe, 615-737-1025 is our phone and text line. If you want to weigh in on anything that we're talking about, we're presented by Regal Realty Group on 102.5, 106.3. The Game.